I'm Will Snowert here in Denver, Colorado, and this is my 2017 Civic Type R. And today we are installing some Rally R Mudflaps. I'm very excited for these because I daily this car and I live where it snows. So I'm hoping to give my paint a little bit of protection so it doesn't get so freaking dirty. So it is September. I've got my snow tires on because it snowed in Denver last week. So we're gonna take these off, put the flaps on, and then put back on my summer tires because we've got mid 80s forecasted for the foreseeable future. So let's get into it. All right, so in the box, pretty simple. We've got all of our hardware, mounting points, and the flaps, and some instructions. Alrighty, y'all. So to do the fronts, all you gotta do is turn the wheel. I found it's easier this way than jacking the car up and taking it off because you can get the side of the flap level easier rather than lifting it. Then you got an angle that you're trying to work with. I messed that up the first time. So do it this way, it's a lot easier. But for the front, all you gotta do is we take these 3 screws out, this mounting point here, and this mounting point here. These two, you just gotta use a flathead or a little pry tool, something like this. You know, a little curve on it, a little bit of a fork, makes it a lot easier. You just pop those out. These 3 are Phillips head screwdrivers. Screw that out, and then you just fit up your hardware. Super easy on the front. So I'm gonna get into that now and I'll time lapse that. One other thing I forgot to add, hardware is super easy, everything is included and they've got instructions for you. For the front and the back, they'll give you 5 washers, a wide mounted kind of push pin. You take this out and you put a screw in it. You got a long screw that goes in that push pin and a spacer for it. That's what goes down here. And then you have 2 kind of replacement spring pins that go under these 2 points after you take the stock metal ones out. And then you got another little push pin that goes in this spot, and then a screw that you use here, or actually it goes here, you put this one up there for the just mounting points. And that's the front side. That took me probably 5 minutes. Super easy on the front. So for the rears, it's a little bit more complicated since there's not a whole lot of mounting space or points on the fender liner back here. So you gotta take the wheel off so you can get tools in there. And then we need to go under the car and remove the 4 push pins that hold in the underside fender liner, so you can get to the mounting bracket that sits in between the valence and the carbon trim piece, so you can install the bracket onto there. So let's get under the car and take off those mounting points and so we can get in there. Alrighty, so once you've got all of your underside push pins removed and the one on the inside, all you have to do is take out the stock screw here and hold on to it, because you're going to reuse it like you did on the front flaps. And then you take your bracket and you want to get it kind of formed to the shape here so it fits underneath this little trim piece on the outside of the valence. So you just hold it up alongside, and you want to bend it in between these 2 bolts above the bottom ones, the top 2, kind of in the middle. And you just want to bend it a little bit. It's pretty pliable. Once you kind of figure out where you want to bend it, just get a little bit more bend into it and make sure it, you know, lines up with the space that we've got here. So I'm just a little bit short, get a little bit more, so about here, and that should fit pretty nicely behind this piece. And you also, on this bottom piece, since when you put the fender liner back, it gets a little bit of an indent back here. That was original clearance. So you want to bend this guy back so it kind of braced a little bit on here, but just you keep the curve. So you want to partial like this third, maybe about here, you just want to bend that back a little bit. You know, not too far, but enough to get some angle here. And then what you want to do is get this guy back out again. Just gonna pull him out a little bit, and then right above, you know, at the seam here between the carbon and the valence, you just want to go in this way and then turn it such that the panel that we just put inside sits on top of the trim piece for the valence. You don't want it in between or below, you want it on top. So once we get it on top, you can just kind of push this guy all the way back in here. A bunch of dirt driving this guy around. And then you just make sure that your holes line up on top. So once you've got the bracket placed here correctly, you're gonna take the allotted push pin. Looks kind of like the stock ones, just a little bit bigger. And this replaces the stock one that you took out on the top side of the valence, right on this panel. It just goes right through the hole in the bracket. So you want to make sure this is flush with the top of the bracket, and then you just push it in and it locks itself in, and then you're good to go to put your nuts in the screw back. Alright, so I've got my push pin on the inside of the bumper valance back in, and then I've replaced all of the push pins that we took out of the rear bumper liner. So this is all fixed back in place. Now we're good to go start putting in our hardware and the flap. So to start, you know, take the flap, make sure your logo facing backwards, obviously. And then what you want to do, make sure you're lined up on all of your bolts here, and then you're going to take the screw that came out of here, put a washer on it, and fit it into that hole that was already there. Kind of get her started, and then you just screw that back in. And then we're going to take the provided lock nuts. These are 7/16. I just have mine up to a 1/4 drive socket. Super easy once you get them tight. So once we get everything finger tight, since I've already got my front one on, I'm just going to make sure that this edge is parallel with the front edge. That way I don't have to put the wheel on, lower the car, do it all that way. This makes it super easy getting the front one fitted first. So I'll just eyeball it here, make sure I've got enough clearance, you know, like the way I want it to, and then we can just pull these guys. You've got some adjustment space because they're slotted, and you can adjust your angle. And once you've got the angle that you want, you just tighten up your lock nuts, and you're good to go. All right, so I've got all 4 of them on. I only filmed 2 of you just so I could make sure I know I was doing it right before I filmed everything. But same process for each side, so super easy. Took me maybe an hour and I was lollygagging. I wasn't in a rush and I was swapping my tires too. So super easy install. You can do it in your garage, parking drive, whatever. But I'm super stoked with how it looks. I've had mud flaps on cars before and I love what they add. You know, nice little bit of width from what you're looking at, but the protection is awesome. So I'm super excited to be able to drive this in the winter and not have to worry about spraying mag chloride and all their chemicals all the way up the side of my car. I had that problem last year. It was the worst. So yeah, we got them all good here. I went for the gray logo to match my polished metal metallic. I find a lot of people I've seen have gone for the black over red, but I'm just not a huge red fan. So I didn't want to add any more red to the car. I like to keep it low profile. But yeah, so definitely recommend them to anybody that's looking to protect their car. Worth the investment. I mean, this set was 150 bucks plus tax and shipping, maybe 160 tops. And it's definitely worth it. It's all high quality. You know, they're flexible in case you run over stuff. The last set I had was real stiff and I scraped the hell out of those things. So definitely recommend Rally Armor to anybody that's looking for some protection on their Type R. Go get them, boys.